Hello and welcome to Military Mantra. In this interview, we have today Major Abhinandan Singh, and he's from the Indian Army. He's retired as a major, and then he has cleared UPSC CSE, and now he's working as IRMS. So we'll try to understand his journey of joining the Indian Army, then eventually joining the civil services. So we'll try. So thanks a lot, sir, for coming on this interview, and welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much to you and to your team.
So, sir, my first question to you would be, how was your journey before you joined the Forge, and what was your motivation back then to join the Indian Army?
So first of all, for the information of your viewers, I joined the army in 2014.
Okay,
Before that, I did my graduation. That is the Bachelor's in Electronics and Communications. That was an engineering degree. And I am from Aknur, so my schooling has been done from that place only. I
okay,
am a product of one of the convent schools, which was in Aknur, St. Francis Higher Secondary School.
okay,
So in a build up to this, just a background that Aknur is a place which is situated on the border. It is on the southwestern side of Jammu and Kashmir, and it is very much the presence of army is very much visible in Aknur. So right from the initial days, that respect for the uniform, respect for the aura of discipline was always there. And as I grew up, fueled by the teachings of my parents, the teachers, and all the well wishers that were there, the whole thought process developed in such a way that this life is supposed to be dedicated to the country, dedicated to the patriotic values that we all proudly cherish. So, serving the country was always the cornerstone of the thought process. But
understood.
I'll be very frank that I did not consciously decide that I wanted to join the army. When I was in college, I was doing my engineering degree. Side by side, I was also running an NGO which I started with some of my friends.
Okay,
But in the penultimate year of the college, which is the third year of the engineering degree, there used to be an entry at that time. I think it has been discontinued now. That was the university entry scheme.
okay,
So, as per that scheme, a team of the army officers come to your colleges, they interview you, and then they shortlist you for the SSB.
yeah,
So, I was interviewed by the team, and then I went to the SSB Allahabad, which is the 19 SSB, and there I was selected. But before this, also I had also appeared for the AFCAT examination for the Air Force, and I also cleared that. And subsequently, I had gone to the one AFSB Dehradun for the SSB, and I cleared that also. So
okay,
by the time I finished my graduation degree, my engineering finished in May of 2014. So July of 2014, I had my joining pending both for the Army and the Air Force. So that was the time I took a very conscious call. Both were absolutely wonderful services. But since I had grew up in an atmosphere where I've seen the Army, the uniform, so I
mm,
had a natural inclination toward joining the Army, and so I joined the Army.
understood, sir. So since you told me that you have attended both AFSB and SSB, so if you can speak about your experiences from both, and also what tips you would like to give to the aspirants who will be appearing for service selection board.
That's a very, very good question. So first of all, I have always considered that SSB is not an examination. And I would like to tell the aspirants the same thing, that do not consider SSB as a competition, as a examination. And you are not competing with your fellow aspirants. That is not the case. If both of you, or if in fact, if 10 of you or 15 of you are good enough, the army will take you. It is not that only those stipulated number will be selected in the SSB.
Mm,
Yes, the merit thing can come in later on, but if you are good enough, you will automatically be taken care of. So first thing, that the first myth that has to go away from the minds of the aspirants is that it is a competition, that it is an examination. It is not. If it is not an examination, then automatically the question comes what it is.
mm,
I always equate the SSP to just like a mirror. It is a mirror which, if we are lucky to have qualified the screening phase, that is the mirror we face for the next 5 days. So it is a mirror which tells us what is the strength that we have, what is the weakness, what kind of human being we have, what kind of personality we have. So first we understand that this what SSB is, then subsequently the preparation for it starts. So that is the first thing that we need to understand, the aspirants need to understand about the SSB. Now
understood.
subsequently, as you ask the question, so we will also cover how to prepare and all those things as you proceed forward with this podcast.
Understood, sir. So, sir, when we go to SSB, right? So we have multiple processes like psych test. So you have GTO and interview as well. And we also hear a term called officer-like qualities, right? So now that you've gone through that process, you've been an officer, you're retired. So how do you look at all these processes and OLQ as a from your perspective?
Very well brought out. These qualities that are tested there, yes, a significant amount of transformation takes place once you are selected and go to the training academy.
Okay.
But those OLQs, the officer like qualities that we are talking about, they have to be ingrained from you right from the day one when you think of yourself as an officer. It is
Okay.
not that you will first be selected or you will first start preparing and then you will imbibe those qualities. If you are even a young schoolboy or a schoolgirl or even in college right now and plan to appear for the SSB maybe 3 years down the line, 5 years down the line, you need to understand that those qualities have to start developing in you right now, today. It is not that 5 days before the SSB or 1 month, 2 months before the SSB, you will start developing those qualities. First, you imbibe those qualities and automatically the SSB selects you. That is the thing. And now the question is, what are the qualities?
Mm.
The most important quality, which is non-negotiable, which cannot be compromised, is the integrity factor. You cannot be dishonest. So first thing is to be honest, first with yourself, and then with your team, with your colleagues, and with the invigilators. In the case of SSB, the interviewers and the GTO. So honesty is the first thing that comes to you. Second thing, of course, you should have a you should have a mental attitude, you should have a mental toughness, though a subsequent portion of this will be covered once we undergo the grinding in the academy. But
Mm.
yes, a part of it has to be inculcated right from the day one you start preparing. It is not just for the SSB, even for the life also. SSB is just life. As I told earlier, SSB is like a mirror. So
Yeah.
that mirror is not just for joining the defense forces, it is for preparing you for life. Those aspirants who do not qualify for the SSB or for some reasons who do not go to the army or the air force or the
Mm.
navy, it is not that they are not officer like, but those qualities are important if we have to contribute significantly and effectively towards the development, towards the progress of our country.
Understood. Understood, sir. So, sir, after this, you would have joined the Indian Military Academy from the US entry. So, how was your experience there? Any memorable incident that you have which you would like to share with the aspirants?
As I think you are a pro in the interviews when it comes to defense aspirants and the SSB. So it is actually a logical question. And the 1 year in the academy is full of instances which can, even a complete book can be written on the incidents. Each day in the academy is like a memory. You can remember even today, there are incidents which gives you goosebumps. The first day when you join the academy as a completely novice, we call it, to totally new individual who is not aware about the defense circumstances, defense situations. Once you are settled in your room, your dorms, once you are placed, your stuff is arranged. After that, the same evening, once you have the dinner, then the real picture comes out that yes, now it's the time for you to be welcomed in the Indian Military Academy or the Officers Training Academy. The first fallen on the first dinner, after the first dinner, that goes on for a lot of maybe 2 to 3 hours. So that is just the indication of the greater things to come.
Mm-hmm.
And the question that you asked me about what is the most memorable incident, so for me, for the information of your viewers, I was in the Kohima company, which happened to be in the Karyappa battalion.
Okay.
And in my final year, in my final term before the passing out, we were the champions of the Bhadraj. Bhadraj, if you might be aware, it is one of the most it is the toughest and one of the most memorable runbacks
Okay.
in the academy, in which you are required to be completely full of battle load with all
Mm.
your team, 40 members divided into two groups, I think. And all those individuals have to start together, run a distance of whatever 40, 50, 60 kilometers, depending upon the fact whether you are lost or you are able to find the proper route, and then come back. You run for 12 hours. Some teams even run for 24 hours if they're lost. So that is one of the most memorable incidents, because our Bhadraj happened in the peak of the winters. I think it was February.
Okay.
And February in the hills of Mussoorie, which is called the Queen of Hills.
Mm.
So that was the time when the winds were blowing in the utmost chilling form. And we were carrying each other. We were shouting slogans for our company. And that enthusiasm, and the moment we were just about to enter the academy, just before entering the academy, there is a huge river called the River Tons. River Tons is right on the backside of the Indian Military Academy.
Okay.
So we had to pass through at the morning of 4:30 or 5 o'clock to reach because we were lost in the final stretch. So we had to pass through with our boots totally drenched in the winters. So that experience, when we finished and when we came to know that we are the champions of Bhadraj, so that is the most memorable incident. If I were to be asked, barring of course the passing out parade, which everyone fondly remembers all his life.
Yeah. Got it, sir. So, sir, which regiment did you actually opt for when you were in IMA, and what was your motivation or reasons for that?
Since I had a background in electronics and communications, so my natural choice was my first option and first choice was signals only, and I got signals. Second was, I think, infantry, and third was the armored, I think. So
Okay.
these were my choices. First, signals, because I thought that I had done a particular specialization before coming to the army. So it is better that I stick to that, because I have a certain skill set. I have learned certain things in theory. And if army can give me the opportunity to put that theory I have learned for 4 years into practice, so I thought I would be able to contribute effectively.
Okay. So if you could briefly describe, your role, responsibility, and routine looks like. So once you join your regiment, right, on any ideal day, how does it look like?
So first, about the role, I would like to talk about. Role depends upon where you are posted. It
Okay.
is not that you will be having similar roles throughout your life. It will depend upon under which formation you are posted. For example, my initial posting was in Tezpur in Assam. It
Okay.
had a different role. And second posting was in Amritsar along the western borders. And third posting was altogether a different experience. It was in the domain of intelligence. So depending upon what kind of job or profile you are posted in, your role will vary. But as far as the routine is concerned, routine pan Indian Army with minor variations will always be the same. You get up very early in the morning, latest by I think 5:15. Then you do your chores and reach for the PT marker. Once you are done with that, then of course after that you will have a brief period to get ready and reach the office in time. Then of course the you do variety of tasks depending upon the role, as we earlier discussed. And then once that is done, evenings we have a proper scheduled game period, which lasts depending upon sometimes hours, sometimes even 2.5 hours also, depending upon your operational role and the availability of time. And then of course evening sometimes we have the office and certain training activities which go on. And these things depending upon, if you are in peacetime, you are in field, so these things can vary. So but
Okay.
this is general background of what the routine looks like.
Okay. So, sir, since you have spent time in army and now you're moved to civil service, if I can ask you, any three life lessons that you learned from the Indian Army, which you still, cherish, what would they be?
And number of lessons. The first, of course, is the Chetwood Credo, which is very close to me, and I think it should not just be limited to the military. It should be taught even in the schools and colleges. The Chetwood Credo, it gives us the priority of what should be a priority of our action. So it tells us that the safety, honor, and the comfort of your country comes first, always and every time. So when you have any doubts, the doubts will be catered for, will be addressed in this order. The first will and the foremost will always be your country and the country's welfare. Second priority is the men you are commanding, because even as a young officer, there will be certain leaders, certain other ranks, certain jawans under you. So it is your second responsibility, after you have created that nation has been taken care of. Now you are required to take care of those individuals who are working under you. And the third thing it says, that last is you. Your own comfort, your own safety, and your own ease will always be the last. Every time it will be the last. So this is the first lesson, and I am very much inspired by this. That nation has to be first, then the men under you, and then yourself. You cannot place yourself either above your subordinates or above the nation. That is non-negotiable.
Understood.
Second thing which the Indian Military Academy or for the training academies in the defense teach us is the breaking of the barriers in terms of the mental limits and the physical limits. There is a very famous saying in the academy that whatever does not kill you only strengthens you. So this is the second most important lesson, which again I take it forward, that there are no limits to human mind and human potential. You are an infinite power. You have infinite power within you. The only need is to realize your potential and break any and every limit that comes in the way. And the third and the most important thing is, of course, the feeling of the team spirit and camaraderie. So these are certain things. The list can go on, but if you want to listen to the top three, these would be the ones.
Understood. So, sir, you then chose to join the civil services. So, what motivated you back then, to make that switch?
So again, I was actually a permanent commissioned officer.
Yeah.
So my terms of service were 20 years. So, but unfortunately, in one of the training events during the transition from my first unit to the second, in between there was a training event. In that training event, I got injured. That was back in 2017. So once I got injured, then there was an issue with my spine and also certain issues with my ankle. So over a period of time, the injury kept getting bad. So till 2019, I kept getting the treatments wherever it was required to be done. And by 19, when I saw that it is not improving, and I had a consultation with few doctors, so they told that it might go on for a long time. So that is the time I decided that I might not be able to contribute that effectively being in the army, because some way or the other I was really disturbed by the injury in terms of my movement was restricted. I have always been an active sports person. I've been playing basketball for a good amount of my life. I have been running. I've been doing physical activities. All that got curtailed after 2017. Till this date, even as I speak to you, I have not been able to run after that.
Okay.
So that is the transition period when I actually thought that I should make a switch. But again, making a switch was also not easy because permanent commission officers are not left that easily. But God has been kind that He planted an idea in my mind, and then He created the circumstances in which that idea could be successfully executed. So I appeared in 2021. Unfortunately, I could not clear that year. And 22, I again appeared, and then the results are there. I got 749 rank last results.
Nice, sir. So, if you can speak about, briefly about your preparation for your UPSC CS exam, and what tips you would like to give to people who wants to appear for that.
So for all the aspirants, not just for the civil services examination, for all other examinations, the first thing is to have a great amount of self-belief. You got to have that self-belief. Unless and until you have that belief that you will be able to do it, you will not be able to do it. So the first prerequisite in any domain that you want to enter, you want to be a businessman, you want to be an entrepreneur, you want to be an artist, the first thing, the first starting point is that to have belief in yourself, that you will be able to make what you are, take it to a logical end, whatever the task you are starting. So self-belief comes the first. After that, it is the identification that what is the strategy. For civil services specifically, the strategy is even more important than the hard work. Yes, hard work is paramount for anything that is to be done in life, but for civil services, hard work has to be very much in a channelized direction. It cannot be very random. It has to be very much in a channelized in a particular domain. You have to be very sure what books to read, how much to be read, what are the questions to be expected, and what is the approach that you are going to take. Because it can be a very tiresome journey preparation for the civil services, because the complete examination in itself lasts for a complete year. For those who are to appear this year, for example, 2024, February, they'll fill up the forms. They will be preparing 1 year prior to that. So those who are preparing for 24, they must have been into preparation at least in the January of 23 or maybe June of 23. So 1 year you are before the examination you are preparing. Then the examination in itself takes a complete year. Pre is followed by the preliminary is followed by the mains. It is a 3-month gap. After the mains, then we have 3 months of interview. Then the complete process takes 1 year. So it is a very tiresome process. So you have to be very patient. You cannot be jittery. You cannot have that anxiety that time is running away, because the demand is such. So the strategy has to be very clear that these are the books to be read. And once you have finalized your resources, then the demand is to stick to them, because of the advent of the technology, the market is flooded with a lot of books, lot of resources, lot of guidance. But the key is to identify the right mix. We cannot be endlessly going on reading books after books. Just finalize your resources, take consultation from people who have done it, and then stick to the resources, revise it again and again, and of course, complemented with a little bit of practice of the previous year questions. So this is the broad strategy that comes into the preparation of the civil services examination.
Understood, sir. So, sir, you also have an interview which happens as part of civil services, and you also give an SSB. So, what qualities are they looking in the civil services interview that takes place?
For me, I've personally appeared in 3 SSBs, and
Yeah.
now I've given 2 interviews for the UPSC also. So the main difference that I have come to observe is that SSB interviews are testing more about your personality, your personal life, they try to put you under pressure in a different way. But when it comes to the UPSC civil services interview, it is actually called a personality test, and they're not grilling you that much as compared to the SSB. Yes, they will ask you questions which can be with certain controversial angles. Those things may not be asked in SSB. For example, certain political questions which could be like taking a balanced opinion between a contradictory situations. So you have to maintain a balance between your opinions when it comes to civil services interviews. But when SSB is there, SSB is more about how true you are to yourself. Are you not very nervous? How good are your communication skills and the overall personality? But here the focus is more upon your awareness, your analytic skills, and how you balance the contradictory positions. So that is the major difference.
Okay, got it, sir. So, sir, how does your current role as a civil servant look like, in terms of your responsibilities or the routine that you follow as of now?
So for your information, I just got the Indian Railways Management Service last
Okay,
year, and
okay,
I joined there, and there is an option of taking a year-long leave. So I am
okay,
presently on leave. So practically, I have not been on the ground.
understood.
But since it is a department under the Indian Railways, so initially 2 years we would be required to undergo training under the different domains, under different departments, at different places, and we'll be coming to know how the railways functions, how the traffic is controlled, how the latest projects, for example, the Vande Bharat upgradation is being done. There is a project for the high-speed train, high-speed railway bullet trains. So all these things we will be taught about, how the accounts work, how the engineering part of it works. So all these things first we'll learn for 2 years, and then we'll be sent on ground to implement all these things.
Understood. So, how do you see, leadership from your perspective? Since you've been in army, you've been here. So, how do you look at it?
So this is a very important question in today's scenario, or for that matter, in any time of the life of human life we have seen. Leadership and leaders are very important. So first thing, or first broad, or first that highlight or hallmark of a great leader is to be considerate and be open to what the others are saying, what others have the opinion, because we cannot say that we are the masters and we will not be listening to the, for example, your subordinates. So it is the responsibility of the leader to create a very conducive environment. I'll take just example of my experience in the army only. So people say that army is about discipline. Yes, it is about maintaining the discipline, but there are 2 ways of maintaining the discipline. One is the hard route, and other is the soft approach. I have personally experienced that you need to adopt a mix of both. Most of the people, most of the human beings are generally very disciplined, and they do not falter to a great extent. They do not falter to a great extent. So for those individuals who are doing their duty on time, who are doing all that is required to be done, you have to be considerate, you have to be respectful towards them. And there are certain people in parliaments who need a boot in terms of certain punishments. So you have to identify the right mix. You cannot adopt a different approach. For example, somebody who is doing their job, you cannot give him punishment for things he has not done. But yes, in the army, in the training, when we study, we see that punishment is given to everybody, irrespective of the fact that you've done your mistakes or not. But that is restricted to the army, because that is restricted to the training part, because that is the phase in which team spirit and camaraderie is to be developed. So it takes that socialist principle in which we have to cater for the weakest link in the chain. So
Understood.
that has to be taken care of. But at the same time, it is very important for a leader to understand what different individuals have to be approached in different ways.
Understood, sir.
Second thing is, of course, depending upon the same, that you have to create a very cordial work atmosphere. And you cannot compromise on your professional work ethic. The work ethic has to be paramount. You cannot compromise on this. If something is to be done by this much of time, suppose by tomorrow morning 10 a.m., this work is to be done, then even if it takes the complete night, the leader has to ensure, and it has to be ensured if it is required that he is present the complete night, he has to be there. He cannot delegate the responsibility completely and say that I'll come back tomorrow 10 o'clock, I want the work to be done. If he is present with his troops, with the subordinates, then their morale will be boosted. So you cannot just be an armchair leader. You have to be on the ground. And the other thing, of course, in the military parlance for leadership, we need to focus upon physical fitness also, because the troops look up to you. You have to be good with one of the other sports also. If army generally we play group games like football, like basketball, like volleyball. So we have to, even if you're not very good also, but we have to be very active in participation, so that, because sports and games are one means in which the troops will gel with you very comfortably. So that is the time we know about people. People will be more comfortable with you, and you develop a camaraderie that can last your lifetime.
Yeah, understood, sir.
So these are certain lessons for the aspirants if they are aspiring to be good leaders. And of course, one more important thing is, which is highly undervalued by some people, the communication skills. There cannot be a good leader who cannot convey the points that are to be conveyed. So communication skills is one of the most important facets of a leadership, of a good personality. So for those wanting to be good leaders, start focusing upon your communication skills right from today, because if you have certain ideas, if you want to command, and unless you are able to convey your points with a confident and solid voice, people will not listen to you. So this is something that, these are 3-4 things which I would like the aspirants to focus upon.
Understood, sir. So my final question to you would be, since a lot of aspirants from the defense will be watching this, what will be your message to all of them who wants to join the forces, be it Army, Air Force, or Navy?
So first thing is, as I already told, that why has to be clear. That why is it that you want to join the forces? If you're clear about the why, then of course you will find the ways and means to do it. And the second thing is, joining the forces is one thing, preparing for it is one thing, but going on the other side and serving, when you see, for example, if you are posted to the, if you are in the infantry, or you are posted to the Rashtra Rifles, where you see the active operations. So that is a completely different domain. So you have to be ready for the contingencies that may arise because of your joining in the forces. You never know, tomorrow war may break out. That time you cannot back out. You are volunteered to join the forces. So that has to be in the background always. And more, I think more concerning to the aspirants would be how to prepare for it. Some of it we have already covered. And the other things are, there are a lot of coachings also available. I personally do not believe in that. The aim is to develop your personality holistically. Be good with academics. Good does not mean you score 95%. Be good means average marks. If you're scoring 80 plus, that would be fine. Participate in extracurricular activities. Participate in sports. Take part in debate competitions. Take part in quiz competitions. Take part in cultural events. Take part in be a part of certain NGOs, certain groupings, where you get to participate and express yourself in social parlance. So all these things will hold you in a very comfortable position when you are there to appear in the SSB. And of course, once you're selected, then the Indian Military Academy or the Officers Training Academy, they will take over, and what they famously call they will make men out of you. So don't worry about that. Just prepare yourself to reach that place where you will be made men.
Understood, sir. So thanks a lot for accepting the invite and coming over here and sharing your experiences both from the army and the civil services. And most of your answers were very direct and very crisp in what you want to convey. That I really liked. So thanks a lot, sir, again for your time, and Jai Hind.
Akash, it's a privilege that we have been able to speak and share some insights. I hope they will be beneficial to the aspirants. Otherwise, also, if some of your aspirants might like to approach me, they can approach me through my Instagram page. If
Sure.
you can share with them.
Yeah, sure, sir. Thank you.